Now for the latest in food health. Is that a bug in your basil? The Food and Drug Administration, or FDA, reports that insect and animal fragments taint 12% of imported spices. This revelation is forcing the spice industry to look into training that stresses preventative controls. Most of the insects found were stored product pests, indicating a problem with packaging. The rodent hair discovered indicated contamination by rodent feces. The FDA identified 14 outbreaks involving spices within the last 40 years. These outbreaks resulted in 2,000 sick people.
Do you have an allergy to gluten? Experts say no, you don't. The gluten allergy was recently debunked as nothing more than an internet food fad. While allergists say people can be allergic to wheat, gluten is not the main culprit, though people often confuse the two for being one and the same. Allergy specialists say that while people should use the internet for guidance, they should not rely on the expert health information.
Recent studies are showing that those who follow a vegetarian-style diet may live longer than those who do not. The study conducted by the medical journal JAMA Internal Medicine divided over 70,000 Seventh-day Adventist vegetarians, a faith that is known for advocating vegetarian diets, into 5 groups. Jade Vakil has more on the study. Jade?
Thanks, Isabella. The JAMA study actually showed the pesco vegetarians who also eat fish, lowered by their risk of death by 19%. Vegans had a 15% lower risk of death, and semi-vegetarians, vegetarians who ate meat occasionally, had an 8% lower risk of death. But a response published in JAMA also mentioned that while vegetarian diets may be healthy and can help people live longer, this is not always true if dieters are consuming large amounts of sugary drinks, refined grains, salt, and saturated fats and trans fats. So starting these types of healthy eating habits earlier can help a person have a longer, healthier life, which is why some college students choose to follow a vegetarian diet. How hard is it to follow? Let's find out. Michelle Getlin is just one college student out of thousands in the U.S. who is a vegetarian and may not know one thing.
A bag of spinach, chopped up and cooked.
Recent studies released by the medical journal JAMA Internal Medicine are saying humans who eat a vegetarian diet, including vegans, tend to live longer than non-vegetarians.
I really like baked tofu with a ton of different spices, and it takes like an hour to make, so that I sometimes, I'll make a lot at once and keep it in the fridge and make it up, but other than that, I like roasted cauliflower and spinach. I like chickpeas with tomato sauce.
And while some college students say that it may be hard or not worth it to be a vegetarian in college, sophomores like Kaylee Ferguson say it's not so bad at all.
So it was actually really easy for me. Whenever I would go to TDR as a freshman, there would always be like tofu or seitan or anything like that that I could just, substitute for. And now that I live off campus and shop for myself, it's even easier.
But students who are wishing to switch to a vegetarian-type diet need to be cautious that they are doing it healthily.
My best recommendation would be to go to the USDA site that lays out different pyramid schemes, if you will. Now it's called My Plate, but different schemes to what the vegan diet should include, how many servings, to make sure that someone's just not having pasta and lettuce, for example. They're going to be very deficient in many things.
If this type of balance is accomplished, the payoff can be life-changing, not only adding 6 years onto the life of a female and 9 years onto the life of a male, according to the JAMA study, but allowing people to feel stronger all around.
A little salt.
Recent studies are showing that those who follow a vegetarian-style diet may live longer than those who do not. The study conducted by not only are vegetarian and vegan diets a good way to live longer, but also the Mediterranean diet, which consists of eating fruits, vegetables, and meats as well. And we have Professor Jody Gann in the studio today, who is a nutrition expert at American University, to talk a little bit more about the Mediterranean diet. So thank you for coming, Professor Gann. So my first question is a Mediterranean diet type of lifestyle a good choice in general, and why?
It's a great choice for a lot of reasons. A Mediterranean-style diet is more plant-based than meat-based, so lots and lots of fruits and vegetables, more than the 5 or so recommendations that most Americans try and follow. And then many less saturated fats. So meat just a couple of times a week or even a month, and more often chicken or fish when you're having a protein. And like I said, lots of plant-based products, fruits and vegetables and whole grains. And instead of butter, which is another saturated fat that's been linked to higher cholesterol and heart disease, olive oil, which is a wonderful monounsaturated fat in the diet. So instead of putting butter on your bread, put a little bit of olive oil on your bread and cooking with olive oil instead of fats.
Okay, great. And so why do you think studies are showing that people or women who are on the Mediterranean diet tend to live longer, 9 years longer? What is it about this type of diet that is making people?
I think there's a lot of reasons. I think the increased fruits and vegetables gives you more antioxidants in your diet, which have been found to help with cancer, preventing cancer. I think the Mediterranean diet tends to be a diet lower in fat, like I just said, so that helps protect women from heart disease. I think women who practice a Mediterranean diet, if they're from the Mediterranean, they have healthier habits, dining habits in general. So then rather than just a quick meal at a fast food restaurant or even a quick grab and go meal at home, the emphasis in the Mediterranean cultures is to sit down and enjoy your food and not rush. And sometimes when you rush, you tend to binge eat and just pop whatever you have that might not be so healthy into your mouth. So it's a more deliberate way of eating. And family style, enjoying your family. If you're somebody who's able to take that time, perhaps you have a little bit less stress in your life as a result, and I think that can also be a protective factor.
Right. And is this healthy? Is this healthy for young people? A lot of times people say like, oh, well, they're not eating the right amount of meats, they're not getting enough iron, and so on and so forth. Is the Mediterranean diet healthy for younger people as well?
It is. It's very possible to get all the iron you need and the protein you need from a more plant-based diet. And in this case, there are protein sources from animals, but just less fatty sources. So we said the fish, which is high in a lot of other wonderful things, and poultry. So it's very attainable.
Okay, great. And like, what are some of your tips about how college students can live a healthier lifestyle in general, especially with the Mediterranean?
Well, I'm new on campus, but I'm hearing good things about TDR and the choices. I teach HFIT 200, which is a wellness class, and the students there had to keep a food log. And so I saw some of them making some really good choices in TDR and not so good choices, but isn't that life? And then there's living in your apartment too. So I guess if you're in TDR, I'm told that there is always a vegetarian option. There's always nice vegetables as side dishes, and the salad bar is good. So making sensible choices there and being careful about high-fat condiments. So I'm glad to see that there's some really nice options there. When you're cooking for yourself, it gets a little more challenging. And cost is a factor too. I know a lot of people don't want to spend a whole lot of money, and fruits and vegetables can be expensive. But there are lots of ways to shop around that. You can buy in season. So right now apples are plentiful, wonderful, and less expensive than raspberries shipped in from Argentina or something like that. So it's really important to buy locally and buy in season. There's a farmer's market here on campus where students can get good choices. And the fruits and vegetables don't always have to be fresh. Frozen is okay, and it's a lot less expensive.
Very true. Well, thank you so much for the tips, and thank you so much for coming today, Professor Gann, AU Nutrition Specialist at American University. We really appreciate you coming on. Now back to you at the desk.
Thanks, Jade. And coming up after the break, obesity in America. Young children are going through puberty, and the government is eliminating trans fat. Stay with us to see why.